You're standing in the bathroom mirror, heart racing, palms damp. In 20 minutes, you're giving the biggest presentation of your career, and your inner voice is spiraling. I can't do this. I'm going to freeze. Everyone's going to see how nervous I am. First person, present tense, maximum panic. But what if you changed one word? What if instead of, I can't do this, you said, Sarah, you've got this? Same situation, completely different brain response. This isn't motivational poster psychology. This is neuroscience. Researchers have discovered that a single pronoun shift from I to you or your own name activates an entirely different emotional regulation system. One that doesn't drain your willpower, one that works almost automatically, and it's been hiding in plain sight in how we naturally talk to friends versus how we talk to ourselves. Today we're exploring why talking to yourself in the third person isn't strange. It might be one of the most efficient emotional regulation tools your brain has access to. Let's start with your inner voice, that constant narrator running commentary on your life. Psychologists estimate we speak to ourselves at a rate of 4,000 words per minute. 4,000. That's faster than any conversation you've ever had, and most of it happens completely outside your awareness. A 2025 study published in Scientific Reports tracked over 12,000 self-talk moments across 200 people. The researchers used ecological momentary assessment, basically pinging people's phones throughout the day to ask, what are you saying to yourself right now? They found something interesting. When we talk to ourselves, we overwhelmingly use first person. I'm tired, I need to focus. Why did I say that? That's the default mode. But sometimes, less often, we slip into something different. You need to calm down. Come on, Sarah, get it together. Using our own name. Talking to ourselves like we talk to a friend. The researchers noticed that when people use this distant self-talk second or third person instead of first, something changed. Their mood improved, not dramatically, but consistently. The study documented nearly 13,000 self-talk episodes across 208 participants over 2 weeks. Distant self-talk was rare, but when it appeared, it correlated with improved momentary affect. But correlation isn't causation. Feeling better might make you more likely to talk to yourself kindly, not the other way around. To prove the direction of effect, researchers needed to look inside the brain. Enter Ethan Kross. He's a psychologist at the University of Michigan who spent his career studying the inner voice. His lab wanted to know what actually happens neurologically when you switch from I to you. In a 2017 study published in Scientific Reports, Kross and his colleagues used both EEG and fMRI to track brain activity while participants viewed disturbing images and tried to regulate their emotional response. Some participants were told to react naturally. Others were told to use first-person self-talk. I can handle this. And the third group was told to use their own name. John can handle this. The brain isn't designed happy. The brain isn't designed remarkable. Third-person self-talk reduced emotional reactivity measured by a specific brainwave called the late positive potential within the first second of viewing the images. 1 second. Before conscious thought has time to engage, before willpower kicks in, the brain was already responding differently simply because of a pronoun change. But here's the part that surprised the researchers most. When they looked at the brain regions associated with cognitive control, the prefrontal cortex, the areas that work hard when you're using willpower, there was no increased activation. Third-person self-talk wasn't working by ramping up self-control. It was working through a completely different mechanism, one that appeared almost effortless. The researchers called it effortless emotion regulation, the same emotional benefit as traditional reappraisal strategies but without the cognitive cost. Your brain doesn't get tired. So why does this work? The answer lies in something psychologists call psychological distance, and you already use it every day, just not for yourself. Think about it. When a friend comes to you with a problem, you can see it clearly. You're not tangled in the emotions. You can offer perspective because you're standing outside the situation. But your own problems, you're trapped inside them. First-person language keeps you immersed. I can't believe I did that. I'm so stupid. The pronoun pins you to the experience. A 2020 study by Gainsberg and Kross found that distant self-talk actually changes how you conceptualize yourself. When you use your own name, you start thinking about yourself the way you think about others. The researchers wrote, distant self-talk leads people to think about the self similar to how they think about others, which provides them with the psychological distance needed to facilitate self-control. It's like giving yourself a mental helicopter ride. From up there, your problems look different. Not smaller necessarily, but clearer, more manageable, less personal. And the benefits extend beyond emotional regulation. A 2021 study found that participants who used distant self-talk during economic decision-making games made more rational choices, more self-interested in a healthy way. Across 3 experiments with over 700 participants, those who talked to themselves in the third person were less likely to make choices driven by emotion. They protected their own interests more effectively. Now, let's be clear about what this technique isn't. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's not about pretending you don't feel what you feel. Suppression doesn't work. Decades of research show that trying to push down emotions often amplifies them. What goes underground gains power. Third-person self-talk is different. You're acknowledging the emotion while creating space from it. You're stepping into the role of your own wise advisor. The research suggests this technique is especially valuable because it doesn't deplete your cognitive resources. Traditional emotion regulation like reappraisal requires effort. It uses up the same mental energy you need for other tasks. But the brain imaging data showed that third-person self-talk achieved similar emotional benefits without engaging the cognitive control network. It's a regulation strategy that doesn't leave you exhausted. Think about what that means practically. You're about to have a difficult conversation with your boss. You've been dreading it all week. The anxiety is building. If you try to calm yourself using willpower, just stop being anxious. Relax. You're fighting against your own nervous system. That takes energy, and often fails. But if you step back and say, Alex, you've handled tough conversations before. What do you actually want to communicate here? Something shifts. The panic has room to breathe. Now, here's an important nuance. The research also found that distant self-talk is less common than first-person self-talk in daily life. It's not our default mode. We have to consciously choose it. The 2025 ecological study found that people used first-person self-talk in the vast majority of their inner dialogue moments. Third person was relatively rare, about 15% of documented instances. Which raises a question: if third-person self-talk is so effective, why don't we do it more naturally? Why is I our default setting? Part of the answer is developmental. We learn to think of ourselves in first person from childhood. I want that. I don't like this. The immersed perspective is baked in early. Another part is that first person feels authentic. I feel sad seems like truth. John feels sad sounds strange. Like you're dissociating. Like something's wrong. But researchers argue this strangeness is actually the point. The mild weirdness of saying your own name creates just enough separation to engage your advisory perspective. It's not a bug, it's the mechanism. There's something almost paradoxical here. To connect with yourself more wisely, you need to step away from yourself. Distance enables clarity. Proximity breeds confusion. Some researchers have raised concerns about overuse. For people who already struggle with emotional connection, who dissociate or feel detached, adding more distance might not help. Context matters. A 2020 study in clinical psychological science found that distant self-talk works best for moderate emotional intensity. At very high distress levels, the technique may be insufficient. It's a tool, not a miracle. For severe anxiety or deep depression, professional support is essential. But for everyday stress, the presentation nerves, the difficult email, the awkward conversation, this simple technique is remarkably powerful. So how do you actually use this? It's simpler than you might think. No meditation app required. No special training. Just a shift in grammar. Next time you're feeling stressed or anxious, try addressing yourself by name. Marcus, you've handled this kind of thing before. Not, I'll be fine. Your name. Second or third person. You might say, what do you need to focus on right now? Or, Sarah, what would you tell a friend in this situation? The question format works particularly well. It engages your advisory mode. Consider using this technique before high-stakes situations. Before the job interview. Before the difficult conversation. Before you open that email you've been avoiding. The research suggests practicing when stakes are lower helps build the habit. Try it during minor frustrations, traffics, a dropped call, a slow line. Build the neural pathway before you need it most. One more thing. This works silently. You don't need to say it out loud. The inner voice shift creates the same distance whether whispered or purely mental. The brain imaging studies used silent self-talk exclusively. Participants weren't speaking aloud. They were thinking the words. The mechanism works at the level of internal dialogue. There's something both humbling and empowering about this research. We spend so much effort trying to control our emotions through sheer will, white-knuckling through anxiety, forcing confidence. And here's this simple technique that works through. What? Grammatical distance? Talking to yourself like you're someone else? It almost feels like a cheat code. But it's not cheating. It's using the architecture of your own mind more skillfully. The same machinery that makes you wise about other people's problems. You're just turning it toward yourself. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into first-person panic, I can't do this, I'm going to fail, try the switch. Use your name. Ask yourself the question you'd ask a friend. Elena, what do you actually need here? Marcus, you've survived worse than this. The simple shift might surprise you. Same situation, same brain, different operating mode. And if you found this exploration of inner voice research interesting, subscribe. We cover psychology like this every week. The mind is full of simple mechanisms with profound effects. Until next time, be kind to yourself and maybe try talking to yourself like you actually are someone worth being kind to. Because you are.